Yeah, it's really good, right?
Mm-hmm. I just thought of that clip from that guy that plays. I don't know if you've ever seen it, like Wheel of Fortune online, where you can like record yourself doing voices for like, hey, make your excited noise and everything. You guys know what I'm talking about? Tanner does. You have no idea. Okay,
No.
well, if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about.
So yeah, that was the Mountain Dew Baja Punch. Enjoy it. This is the only can you're probably ever going to get in your life because I can't find it anywhere else. It's limited edition or something.
good.
So
Oh, okay.
enjoy it. Yeah, this is it.
That is really good.
Enjoy it while it lasts. Okay, so
I should have bought these. These were in Walmart for like 1 week. I went there, and then I never saw them again. And there were stacks of them.
yeah, you should have
And
bought.
I feel terrible.
They're so good. I'm pretty sure everybody who tried them went back and just like stockpiled it because of how good it is.
So good.
Anyways, hi. It's been a while.
It's been a while.
Welcome.
Yeah, that's it.
It's been a while. That's all we had. You guys have a great rest of your day. No.
Yeah.
So today's topic. This is gonna stem. Okay, so where this idea is stemming from is I have decided it's time for all of us to play some of the how would I put it? Video
PlayStation
games greatest
exclusives.
hits as well as PlayStation exclusives. Yeah, it falls under that. But video game greatest hits. So like Tanner played Dark Souls recently, which we'll talk about once we finally convince Jared to become a real gamer.
I mean, I'll walk out of
And
it with it today. I'll walk out with it today if you want. But
you absolutely
You
can.
need to. You need to.
okay.
And like The Witcher and stuff like that. But specifically in the realm of video games greatest hits with PlayStation exclusives, the one that we have now all three played that I want to talk about is The Last of Us.
Yep.
Just I had played a little bit, but I like kept my exposure of the game super low because every time I wanted to read something about it or saw something about it online, I was like, no. Like I need to play this first. And I had played some of it, like 30-40 minutes of it or so, and then just never got back to playing the rest. So I just finished it all within like a week though. It's like it's fresh. It's ready to be talked about.
Yeah. Okay.
And I just played it
Well,
for
what'd
once.
you think?
What did I think?
Yeah, I want to know what you thought. I played it multiple times. Tanner played it like, what, 2 months ago?
No, it was like, more like 6 to 9.
6 to 9 months ago?
It wasn't in January.
That I played The Last of Us?
Yeah, it was when you were on spring break in like April.
Was it?
Maybe it was 4 months ago.
I thought it was like fall
Whatever.
break. At any rate, it's been a while.
That's
So, Jared, tell
So
us
I'm
what
the
you
freshest,
think. I want to
yeah.
know.
It's freaking good. I just want that like on the front cover of the Game of the Year edition. It's freaking good. It was not what I expected. Like I had started to play it, and first of all, I had seen like the first 15 minutes clips of it, which is just like break your heart, and you don't even know these people yet.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert. I mean, I guess that should be said. Spoiler. We're gonna talk about this dang game.
Yeah,
like,
but it came out in like 2013.
I know.
So at this point, if you don't know what it's about, you probably don't care.
if
enough
you
to
were
get
doing what
spoiled.
I've been doing for the last like 8 years, then don't listen to this and play it yourself.
Yeah, I would say if you are even slightly interested in finding out why everyone likes this game so much, find a way to play it yourself.
It wasn't what I was expected though. Like I like I said, I played like 30 minutes of it and then didn't get to play it for another like 9 months or something. And once I actually like got into it and played it from start to finish, it was really good. And it did really good, and we'll talk about all this stuff, but like I'll start with gameplay wise. Fun. Like so fun. Like every single instance, I've never seen a game that I really got just as much satisfaction out of stealthing a section as in just going guns blazing and just making good shots, Like it gameplay wise, it was so fun.
What are you laughing
What,
at?
yeah, what did I say that was...
Nothing. You're bad at Ghost Recon, that's all.
What are you talking about?
It's true.
No,
It's true.
I have fun with Ghost
Because-
Recon.
But
If you had just
no one
as
else
mu-
with you has
Never
fun
mind.
is the problem.
Doesn't
No.
matter. Okay, yeah, I agree. I think the gameplay is super fun. I like that. Well, I don't know if I necessarily like this actually, but like at that point in time, Batman kind of ruined video games for everyone, where suddenly everyone was a superhero that could see people through walls.
That's kind of true.
I feel like that's kind of the one part of the gameplay that I kind of wish wasn't quite as precise as it was, because it was like you could see exactly where they were. It wasn't even like a fuzzy outline. It was just like, oh, let me just stop and listen for a minute. And I'm like, yeah, there's a guy 10 feet behind me that's looking to his left. So if I turn and go behind him, then I'll be okay.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. It's like there's this game. It's like an indie game. I forget what it's called, but basically, as you walk around, you like make noise, and you can like watch the lines track on the walls, and that's how you see the world.
Oh crap! I totally
It's just with
remember.
sound. It would have been cool if it was something more like that. I do agree that there were definitely some cases where I was in a stealthing section and I just used that sneak and listen and could find people like really easy. And it was maybe a little too easy. I get what you're saying.
That's
If
all.
it was more subtle, then that would have been nice. Or even just with people, because with clickers it makes sense because they're constantly making noise, and like thematically it makes sense that you'd be able to hear where they are
Sure.
as you're moving around since they're making noise to find you. I get that.
Mm-hmm.
But with people specifically, unless they're talking, it might have been better if you couldn't hear them. I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
But besides that, I got no complaints. It was a lot of fun. The only thing I was sad about is I'm like a completionist, like up the wazoo completionist. I want to like 100% things. I want to find all the collectibles. I want to get the achievements for it. It feels good. It's something I like doing. And that game is not completionist friendly because they hide stuff all over the place, and there's parts where it's scripted. You get past a point and there's nothing
Oh,
you can
yeah,
do to
you can't go
backtrack.
back, yeah.
You can like restart the whole level if you want to, but like heck no.
You know, after you finish the game, you can go back to specific chapters.
Can you? Ugh, I'm gonna have to do that now. Why are you gonna? No, I have to play The Last of Us too.
Yeah, you need to play the second one.
But yes, it was fun. I felt like the upgrades to weapons was fun. Like that whole finding the scrap and choosing where to put it, because I don't even know if there's enough scrap in the whole game to upgrade all your weapons
No,
fully.
you're talking
There's
about wanting to
not.
100% it. You have to New Game Plus that game.
You have to New Game Plus it. Oh man, that's actually interesting though. I like that. Because you have to go back and play it again.
You do.
But no, I mean overall, first impressions, freaking good. A lot of fun to play, and not only that, like one of those games where my wife, who is not super into video games, would sit and watch parts of it with me. Just because I was like, come check this out. Like, let me catch you up. And, like, this is what's happening so far. And then, like, that big moment happens and she just, like, walks away like, oof. Like, what just happened, you know? So, like, yeah, it was story-wise.
You mean the ending?
I mean,
Yeah,
the
like,
ending.
What big moment are you
I
talking
mean,
about?
Okay.
I mean, at the end of each season, really. Like the end of Winter, where Ellie murders the crap out of that guy, and he's like, get away
David.
from her, and they walk away, and it's like, now it's spring. Or like, oh, his freaking little brother turns into a zombie, he shoots him and then shoots himself, and they're just like, and then it just skips. Like those moments, like were like really human, and we're really like, oof.
Really let you marinate.
Yeah.
Very well articulated. Very oof.
It's very oof. Because, yes, it, like, skips ahead, and it's like, okay, they've had months to get away from this and move on and do this stuff. But, like, I just went through that.
Yeah.
And, like, you just had 3 months to recollect yourselves, get new clothes, and be headed to Wyoming. But I'm still sitting in my sweaty t-shirt on the couch, like, what the heck did I just watch happen? Anyways, it's just, it was really, like, yeah. Yeah, call me out on my words. It was really oof. But good oof. Very good oof.
I don't know how to
Gadoof.
respond to that. Like,
Were there any like particular story beats that surprised you?
Story beats that surprised me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think one that like really got me, besides obviously what like the big ones I just talked about, when you're in Winter and you're playing as Ellie because Joel's all stabbed and laying in the basement dying, and you go out as her, and you're hunting that deer, and then you meet the other guy, and like you meet David, that's his name, right?
yep.
Yeah.
And like at first I was worried, right? And I was like, oh my gosh, you can see how like this world has changed Ellie, because like she's like a 14-year-old girl and she's like holding a gun to this guy because she's so scared of him, which she has every right to be, but like it's scary, you know?
Yeah.
And you're just having this moment, and then you spend that whole like surviving a horde together, And like you almost saw this trust building between the two of them as they did it, as they kind of worked together. And like, okay, they survived it, they got out. Here's this deer, and then he's just like, yeah, we we're having to really like look for stuff, and we just sent some people into town, and like only a couple of them came back because the rest got killed by some crazy guy and his little girl, and you're just like, oh my gosh, that's me. I killed those people. And yeah, it was a shocker to really, for the first time, like the whole time in the game I was thinking, you have to be in that situation because you've seen how crappy those people are. And so when you're meeting those people like that, you got to meet them with the same amount of resilience and the same amount of like gunpowder, what am I trying to say? Like firepower, the same type of firepower and everything. But at the same time, the second like that happened, I was like, oh yeah, like those are people. And they're trying to survive too, and they're just as scared as me. And if we sat down and had a good talk, everything might be fine. But it's not going to ever get there because everybody's terrified and everybody's scared. And that kind of situation makes monsters like David, who, wanted to chop her up into bits and stuff, wherever that was going. That was a big shocker for me.
Okay, that's fair.
Scott's just being quiet, just laughing to himself.
I am. Yeah. Because I just am enjoying your reactions.
Do you have any other questions?
I think the question I have that I want everybody, this is the conversation, I think, is more, because here's the thing that I think about The Last of Us that we don't talk about enough, is what does it mean? Right? Like, what is the actual message? What's the point that the game is trying to get across?
Yeah.
And I think it's something that definitely needs to be talked about more, especially in light of the second game, which is all about getting a point across, which we're not going to get into now, obviously. So we're talking about the first game. We will open that can of worms at some point.
Okay.
Probably within the next month.
But the, like, what do you think it means? Because I guess with the way that the game ends, it, I think, reframes everything that has happened throughout the entire game. And it really makes you stop and think. So, like, what does this game mean? And what did you guys think? Because I don't think there's any kind of one thing. I think it's a very open for interpretation kind of a thing.
And to put it out there as a reminder, like, Joel just completely lying to Ellie about everything that happened in Salt Lake.
Yeah.
She drowns, she passes out, she wakes up in the back of a car leaving, and he lies. He puts together a story about what happened in Salt Lake not being true.
Yeah, which, in case you're just listening to this and you have no idea what we're talking about, this girl is supposed to hold the key to curing the zombie apocalypse, and this guy takes her across the country and finds out once he gets to Salt Lake which is where these guys are going to be that are going to get the cure from her. They basically tell him that they have to cut her brain out and study it in order to get the cure, which obviously would kill her.
Yeah.
And throughout the game, this guy goes from being super hardened to becoming attached to this girl. And so he plows his way through this hospital and kills everyone. Like, every single person in the hospital, like all these soldiers that were protecting these surgeons. Then he kills the surgeons, and then he kills the leaders of the Fireflies, and then who are the
people trying to cure it.
Yeah. And then just tells Ellie, like, they couldn't find a cure, so we just
there were other
left.
people
They've
tried before. Basically, there are other people like you.
Right,
they've tried before, they've given up.
Yeah.
And so they drive off, and they leave, and they go back to the safety of the city that his brother has created in Jackson, Wyoming.
Yeah.
And that's where it ends. Her saying, "You swear that's what happened," and him saying, "I swear," and her saying, "Okay." Roll credits.
She says, "Okay, I believe you," but her face says entirely differently.
Yes, her face says, "I don't believe a word that just came out."
Yeah, and that's something that obviously the second game, I think you'd have to talk about the second game in order to really get into that part.
Of course.
Because it obviously,
there's obviously more. There's a second game.
Yes.
So I guess the question is,
what does this mean?
No, I think let's start with, what do you actually think about Joel?
At first, that's a really complicated question.
I know, but I think it's the most interesting question we can talk about.
Because at first, beginning 15-minute sequence, he loses his daughter.
Right.
She gets shot because the guy thinks, soldier kills him, he's going to kill Joel. She takes the bullet, she dies. And then 20 years later, here he is, a hardened man, made choices, like he says in Pittsburgh, he's set up ambushes like that. Like, he's done some bad stuff to survive over the last 20 years. And now he has this job of smuggling purely there for personal gain. Just needs to take her just outside the city, right? Couple miles hike.
Yeah.
And then he changes at the end of this to being totally attached to this girl, to seeing her as his daughter in a way, to caring for her more than anything. And it's kind of real heartwarming until you get to that end part, which is maybe that level of protection he has for her and the feelings he's had was so dang selfish that it ruined everything. She wanted to do that. That was talked about. While they were in Salt Lake and saw the giraffes, she was like, this is why we're here. There's no halfway. And, I wish that they would have woken her up and let her actually make that choice before throwing her right into surgery and cutting her brain out. But, I'm sure that the choice she would have made would have probably been to do it. That she cares more about the world and saving it than she cares about herself. And Joel wasn't ready to make that sacrifice. Which is, it's tough. I get that. I can understand that, but at the same time, oof.
Yeah, well, it's just this whole moral question about, how far are you willing to go to protect the people that you love? And, at what point do you need to say, maybe we're not doing the right thing anymore? Because, it's like a fight scene, and you fight through this hospital to get her, but, you're, plowing through people that clearly are just trying to help make the world a better place. Yeah. They're literally trying to save the world from the zombie apocalypse.
And especially
15 years into it.
Especially reading the documents of Fireflies throughout the game, just quickly poking through them. A lot of them seem very altruistic, and some of them are obviously aren't there for the best thing. But a lot of them are totally on board with we just need to bring society back. Doing it for the greater good. You listen to Marlene's voice recordings, which are really cool. PS4 comes out of your controller. I thought that was really fun. Listen to her voice recording. She's totally on board. She loves the crap out of Ellie, promised her mom to save her and everything, to make her life worth something, right? To protect her. And she was ready to make that sacrifice because of where it would put the world. The chance that it gave everybody else. And it wasn't for herself, really. It was for the world.
Yeah.
And so it's really tough to see that after playing as Joel and feeling good about doing what you're doing and that you're making the right choices and you're going through thick and thin to save Ellie and to save the world, and then all of a sudden he's not ready to lose his daughter again. It's just, I think, and going back to your original question, I think what the game was really doing was painting that of what's worth sacrificing for and what's worth sacrificing. What means are worth the end. And to him, he wasn't ready to lose his daughter again. And that's rough.
Yeah.
That's what it meant to me, at least, when I watched it.
No, I'm super fascinated. See, so for me, the first time I played the game...
Which, before you get too much into it, I'm halfway through this can. Freaking awesome.
I know,
it's
so
good.
Oh, I'm already done. Yeah.
So, alright. Here's the thing that I think The Last of Us made me really stop and think about when I first played it. Was I completely understand why Joel is the way that he is.
Yep.
And I completely understand why he did every single thing that he did. And I don't think you're ever supposed to be not having I think the purpose of the way that the game is written and the events play out and the story is written and the characters are written is you are supposed to completely understand why Joel does what he does. But Joel is not a good person. He absolutely is not a good person.
Nope.
And I think throughout the game, they do a really good job as you gain understanding and really do come to love and appreciate him as a character and the purpose he's serving. You just kind of, to me, I didn't really stop and think about anything that was happening and whether it was the right thing or the wrong thing until the very end of the game. Those credits rolled and I had a moment of like, oh my God, what have I done? Like, that's how I felt in that moment. Like, what did I just do? And to me, thinking about that just, I don't even know how long it was, of just like, holy crap, like, what? The thing that I think stuck out to me the most is if I had been in Joel's shoes, I probably would have done the exact same things that he did. And I think that that's kind of, for me, what really hit me hard was it was very much a thinking about like, okay, well, like, what kind of a person really am I? And even though I think it's really easy to objectively look at Joel, objectively, right, removing yourself from the situation and just looking at everything that happens, he's not a good dude.
No.
But in a lot of ways, he really is. And I think it's that really cool, and I think that's a much more subtle thing, that kind of the duality, the nuance of just like, he's a terrible person, but he has good in him, and I think he wants to be good again.
Oh, he definitely does. That's the whole growth of the game.
Right, and
to do
Ellie
good.
is the way that he becomes good again.
It's his way that he finds,
And I really feel like the deciding moment of who Joel, like, kind of decides who he wants to be after all that time is when he was gonna give Ellie to Tommy.
Yep.
And then she's like, everyone I've ever known is either dead or left me, everyone except for you. And then that's when he decides, okay, I can't leave her. Like, I think it's when he finally gives in and is willing to open up. But it doesn't make him a good person necessarily. I feel like
it doesn't change anything.
Like,
it does.
Like, I think all it does is really just show us that despite, what am I trying to say here? I think what it really does to show you is perspective, right? And I think just broader in general, just people. Like, people can seem like the worst people ever to you, because, like, every single person from an outside perspective in that world looking at Joel will be like, he's a terrible dude.
Yeah.
Which is literally, like, what sets the plot in the second game.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
And
again, I know nothing about it. I've kept my distance from The Last of Us 2 entirely as well.
Define nothing.
Well, I know all the jokes and memes that have been made about, well, I've seen all the stuff like, name someone that's been through more pain than her, and everybody's like,
Do you know about golf?
Yeah. I don't know about anything.
Oh my gosh!
I have. Well,
That's
I
good. That's
well, okay.
good.
Well, the only other thing I do know about The Last of Us 2 is I know there's another chick. I know Ellie is a lesbian. That's brought up in the DLC as well, and it was brought up in the game too. It was said. That's pretty much all I know. I have kept away from everything. Again, I did this with The Last of Us 1 as well. I stayed away from everything thematically because I didn't want to ruin it. I don't even know what golf means.
Oh,
Tanner's face.
My gosh.
I'm just gonna put that onto the thumbnail. I know
Wow,
nothing.
Okay, sorry. Woo. That. Okay. Good for you, I guess. Yeah.
Like I said, I actively stayed away from it. If anybody was talking about it, playing it,
Yeah, that was like
game
the
review.
opposite for me, dude. Like the second I saw drama around anything in the game world, I'm just like, ooh, what's happening?
Well-
so like there was so much drama
Well, I mean-
around that game, so I was like, I need to know everything.
I mean, I am too. I'm like that with other games. I just knew that The Last of Us was something I wanted to experience. And specifically that because of The Last of Us 2 and the controversy it brought up and everything, I was like, this is all fine and dandy, but I'm not going to look into it any more than knowing that it's controversial. And that's it. That's
Dude,
all I
that
know.
was the least controversial thing.
Okay, yeah, wow, holy cow, dude.
That was just a bunch of that whole thing of people being like, oh, she's retroactively a lesbian. First of all, yeah, go play the first game again.
Yeah, no, it's there.
But that was not the big deal, all right?
That's
That is absolutely does not matter. at all with everything else that happened and all the other controversy. It does not matter.
I don't.
We will have a conversation
Yes,
about.
we're gonna
second
talk
game.
about
Well, I know. Like I said, I want to play this. In fact, I would love to play it over the next couple weeks and be done with it. You know, like
Yeah, do it.
get back
Yeah.
and do another podcast in a few
Holy
weeks
cow.
about it.
I am. Wow. All right. Anyways, yes.
I don't even know where you were at before this.
I wasn't saying anything. This is the first time I've opened my mouth this entire podcast.
I don't remember either. I don't know why you're so shocked that people avoid spoilers.
Well, it was just such a big spoiler. And
Exactly.
it was
That's
just
why I avoided
everywhere.
it.
It was just
I avoided
everywhere.
it before the game came out.
Well, yeah, before the game came out, but the game came out like a year and a half ago. It doesn't matter.
Again,
At any rate,
I have literally never seen the word golf associated with anything I've seen. That's what I'm telling you. I know nothing. Absolutely nothing. And you know what? I'm okay that I'm if I seem
no,
ignorant to
I'm
any of you,
so excited.
I'm not, because what I did was actively avoid it.
No, that's absolutely the thing to do.
It's super good.
It's
I'm
chosen.
totally fine with it. I just like.
I think what we're learning here is that Tanner has zero self-control.
I think that is what we're learning here, because guess what? I was like halfway through the can. Tanner was like, "I finished it." I'm like, "What's golf?" He's like, "You don't know? You've never even played
You
The Last of
avoided
Us
the
2."
spoilers? Like, you're so shocked. It was
Yeah, what
not
the
difficult to avoid them.
By the way,
Well-
still have a little under half of this due left. And he's
No,
like-
I'm not. Good grief. Can I finish the sentence? I'm not shocked that you like avoided spoilers. I'm just surprised that you never wanted to just see what it was like and that you planned ahead that long. Because I'm like,
Well, before
because I
I'm
had no
more
idea.
more shocked that you didn't want to just wait and find out on your own.
Well, yeah, I think there's.
Why would you be? I don't have a PlayStation 4. When in the
Well-
world would I have 60
Well, that's-
hours to just sink into a PlayStation
Okay, first
game?
of all, it's
I
30.
never take your
Okay,
PlayStation.
That's not the point. I don't either. But I came over here once. I played The Last of Us for 40 minutes and said, I want to play this. And Last of Us 2 is coming out soon. And I was like, I'm not going to watch anything on it because I want to play the first one and then I want to play the second one.
Okay,
So it's been there from the start.
that's fine. That's just my point. Was
I know.
that I was like, I'm literally. The chances of me playing this game in the next 5 years are like super low, so I might as well just find out what's gonna happen.
I get that. There's been a couple games that I've done that with.
Saying,
Where
like it hasn't been a standing offer for years that you can borrow the PlayStation.
No,
to
I know
play.
it has. I just don't have the time to.
that's another conversation to
It's
be
another
had.
conversation.
How much Skyrim have you played this week?
None. You're missing the point. Okay. I don't know. I have nothing else to add to this conversation. I just am surprised that you had avoided spoilers completely, and I think it'll be hilarious once.
Oh, I'll listen
You
back to this and
understand.
be like, yeah, I didn't even know what I was saying then, and now I'll know, and I'll be like, man, I can't believe I was throwing
Yeah.
out golf so much
I guess-
without knowing what it meant. Because it's making you laugh every time I say it. Anyways.
Okay. Wow. I just was gonna say I don't think Joel is a good person, and I don't think that him liking Ellie made him a good person either. I think it was just that he was going through the world as this ghost, just trying to survive. Eventually, he found motivation because he kind of found somebody to fill that hole in his heart that was left when his daughter got shot right in front of him in his arms, and he couldn't do anything about it.
Yep.
And so it just gave him motivation, but he was still the same person. He was still, I mean, he kind of like softened to her, but to everyone else, it was just, instead of his motivation was, I need to survive, it was, I need to survive, and I need her to survive too.
Yeah.
So, Joel, I mean, I guess throughout the game he does change and he does soften, he does become closer to her, but the way that he treats other people hasn't changed at all. And I think, honestly, I think that's kind of part of why he does what he does, is not only because he doesn't want to lose Ellie, but because if she does die and the zombie apocalypse is cured and ended, I don't think he would be able to
Reassimilate.
reassimilate into society, because over the entire course of it he had become so hardened and he could kill people without even thinking about it, and he did all the time throughout the entire game. And
Yeah.
eventually he'd have to come and face that head on and say, okay, I did a lot of horrible things in the last 20 years and I don't even know how to function anymore in a normal society. And
Yeah. Which is fair.
and he couldn't do that without Ellie, which he does because that's what they do at the end of the game, right? They go back to Jackson and he sort of reassimilates into a colony of survivors.
I guess.
I just think, and this is something we can talk more about after the second game, how ridiculously naive it is that the Fireflies actually believe that getting a cure would be able to get things back to normal.
Yeah.
There's cannibals in this world. Like,
Yeah.
people have resorted to cannibalism,
So,
and you really
in our
think...
world too, what's your point?
They're
Okay,
not the majority.
but they live in, like,
There's only 20,
super remote places, right? Like...
There's only 20 of them now, and there might be only 20 of them then, but there's only 50 people, so they make up a huge portion of the people that are alive.
Okay, yeah, I feel that.
Anyways, and that's something I thought about when the game first ended. Like, my first train of thought was that whole, is the world even worth, like, that world even worth saving at that
Is
point?
our world even worth
Well,
saving?
that's another conversation to be had.
I think the world in
hashtag Jesus
2013 was
saves.
more
Um,
worthy of being saved than it is now.
Yeah, honestly, yeah,
Well.
they had more going for it back then.
Hashtag Jesus saves. But my point is, in that world, the place that it had gotten to and how things were, that is a genuine question to ask. Is, would anybody... Well, there are people that would be able to reassimilate into a society like that. I really do think so. You saw some of those people in the Jackson colony that seemed like good people. Tommy seemed like a good guy. I feel like he wouldn't have too much of a problem. I don't know anything about the second game. Scott's smiling.
You do know
Anyways.
Tommy was like a hunter with Joel, and he talked about that.
Well, yes, but he
got out of it.
But he got out of
purposefully,
it.
because he said you were doing bad stuff. He said you
Exactly.
were just. He said I did what we had to do to survive, and he's like, well, like I don't know what does he say, but he basically is like you didn't need to do a lot of the stuff that you did.
Yeah.
And I couldn't be around you anymore because you were murdering people.
And that's what I'm saying. That kind of mindset, saying I've been through crap, but I can get past it, like Tommy had, is something I can see. I'm just saying, I haven't seen that much, but that's something that I can see working. Again, don't know anything about the second game. I don't know if Tommy's a big bad guy, if he's the main bad guy. I'm getting that kind of vibe, but that's not my point.
No, he's great, but he's
Tommy's
not
great.
much better than Joel.
My point is, there are people like that and other people in the game that I'm sure would do fine reassimilating into a society, but there are a lot of bad people like Joel who I don't think would. And I think it would cause a lot of problems to separate the thing that's separating all these groups of people, of the really bad cannibalism people and the really like decent people in colonies somewhere in the United States and whatever, is all the zombies between them. And guess what? If you cure it, there's not that buffer anymore. You put all these people back together, it's not necessarily gonna work well.
Yeah, that's fair.
And that's what I thought. I was like, well, sheesh, maybe he did the right thing. It was for the wrong reasons, and it doesn't feel like the right thing, but maybe it was the right
Joel
thing.
did the wrong thing for the right reason, I would say.
Well,
What I'm saying is that in this hypothetical situation that everything would be all good and dandy if it got cured, he did the wrong thing. If you're being objective, if one life could be given to everybody living happily and him moving on in his crappy life or whatever, that would objectively be a better society. I would think. But again, I guess this is the trolley question, isn't it? Like, one person tied, but you had to switch the track kind of deal versus 10 orphans with their, like, fathers watching. I don't know. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's a tough situation to call, but...
I think orphans, by definition, do not have fathers.
Well, I know.
but yes.
Their fathers are tied to the track as well, so they're
Just
about
making
to
me-
be,
the
and
Cyanide
then
and
they're dying.
Happiness game was
okay.
so great.
Anyways, yeah. All right, that's all I got. Anybody else have any thoughts?
I'm just realizing I apparently don't know how to talk about this game in depth without bleeding into stuff in the second game,
Yeah.
and we can't do that.
Well, that's because it's not even the second game. It's part two.
It is part two.
It is so part two.
That is something I will say. When the game ended, I was expecting more. I was expecting it to end in Salt Lake. I was expecting it to end a different way. That's something we can talk about. I expected it to end completely differently.
What'd you expect?
I don't know what I expected. I got into Salt Lake and I was like, I feel like this isn't the end. I feel like there's going to be more. I feel like
We just talk about how Salt Lake, 20 years after the apocalypse has happened, is like this lush green paradise.
That's something that's
Even though this
Yeah.
place is a desert and a wasteland.
Yeah, if there was no society, like Utah would literally be dirt in 20 years.
that's what
That
it
is
was.
it.
That's
This
what it would
state
be.
isn't even that green when we're not in a drought.
Yeah,
like
That's actually a part where Jessie sat down next to me when I got into Salt Lake, and I was like, oh, hey, look, it's the temple, because I wanted to show her and stuff.
Yeah, I made
And-
Carly do that too.
And then I was like, then there were the giraffes walking around. I'm like, they'd be all dead. Like there'd be nothing for them
There's
to eat.
nothing for them to eat.
They
No
would
way.
they would be dead. There looked like there were more giraffes there than when they started, meaning that they bred, had enough food and water. I was like, absolutely not. 10 minutes without the sprinkler on, and Salt Lake is a desert again. Like,
Yeah, it's.
although there
hilarious.
was one part where I turned in an overpass, and I was like, this literally looks like parts of Salt Lake. Like nothing's changed in 20 years.
Also, there's
Um,
absolutely no underground tunnel systems.
Oh,
like that.
absolutely
that.
none.
Nothing.
No, there's not a single
So much stuff.
subway.
I will
Anyway.
say, artistically, for the vision that they're going for, it is fantastic.
I
It's
get it.
incredible. It's beautiful.
Yes.
Not accurate.
Not accurate to Salt Lake at all.
Hey, the temple's pretty. That was cool.
Oh yeah, real pretty. Didn't have the Moroni on it though.
Yeah, I know.
I'm
which I
pretty
noticed,
sure
but-
Moroni might be a copyrighted image, though.
Oh, that's
Ooh,
true.
that makes sense.
But wait, well, maybe the temple.
The building
Image
itself
isn't, I
might
guess.
not be.
Well, I mean,
I don't know.
A building can be used under fair use.
Somebody that
I
works at the
guess.
church temple or church
Yeah.
office building. talked
somebody
to
from the
us.
church office building that's definitely listening to this podcast, let us know. But anyways, I thought it
One
was
of our
cool.
8 listeners.
We'll roll the dice on that. I bet none of them are.
Okay, go ahead though. What were you thinking?
What I was going to say though was I was expecting it to end differently, and one thing that I was not ready for was when I busted into the room with the surgeons. I was like, "There's a choice." No, there's no choice.
There's a choice in how you kill him.
exactly. There's
Which,
a choice.
fun fact, I only found out like 2 months ago. You can actually do an animation to stab him in the neck and kill him.
That's
because
so horrible.
The first
the
time
syringe that he's holding?
with the scallop.
Yeah.
Scallop.
Scalpel. Scallop.
You need to watch
The
more Grey's
scalpel,
Anatomy. What?
and he I literally, the first time I walked in that door, he was like, I can't do this, and pointed a knife at me, and I just blew his brains out. And I have done that every single time I played the game.
Yeah.
Even upon replaying it earlier this year, after playing the second game, I still was like, nah, fam.
Yeah.
That's my girl.
I wish I had mixed it up more. Here's the really so like I said though, I felt like I should have had a choice there, or at least I thought I was going to. Like that I could just shove them aside and take her or whatever. No, you have to gun them down. Not only that, but I shot one
You
of them.
can only kill the one. The other two will not do anything.
No. I
Well, you
shot
only
one of
have to
them.
kill the
He
one.
went on the ground. I tried to grab Ellie and it wouldn't. I turned around and saw he was still bleeding out on the ground and had to shoot him again before I could pick up Ellie.
Oh,
they,
wow.
They all have to die.
See?
All of them.
At least you're a good person.
Well,
I did not ever find that out. I
again,
just shot every single one of them.
I shot the guy. I didn't think that he was still alive. I thought I had killed him. So I mean, I don't know what that actually says about me.
Dude, that's like
but,
the easiest headshot in the game.
Well, I was just being quick about it. I
Oh,
thought I
sure.
had a
Doesn't
choice,
matter,
and I was
doesn't
like,
matter,
bang,
doesn't
bang,
matter.
bang, and moved on. And I was like, oh shoot, he's still bleeding out on the ground, and I feel terrible. So I finished him off. And anyways, I was expecting there to be a choice to be made, or
It's a Naughty
don't
Dog
know.
game. You don't get a choice.
I know, and that's what I'm saying though. Is it felt the game was so up to date, and it felt so good in its storytelling. It felt like some of the things that are being done now that are better and give you choices in games.
Well,
So like I thought I had one, but
Yeah.
it's okay.
That's
All of that
Naughty
aside,
Dog, they tell the story they want to tell.
I know.
Whether you like it or not.
yeah. Well,
but,
that's the thing.
but
is
that
you're
aside, I wanted there to be more. I was expecting there to be more. So yes, the fact that you're telling me The Last of Us 2 is really just part 2 doesn't surprise me at all. Because I felt like when it ended, I was like, ooh, like, oh, like I want more, and I wanted there to be more there.
Not,
Anyways.
we gotta stop this and talk about this again in a
I
month. 'cause
know.
Holy cow, my dear! I am excited to see. how
I'm
you
gonna tell you
react.
this going into The Last of Us Part 2.
Don't nothing.
This is my, I guess, warning.
Sure.
So the last time I played both the games was like May, whatever. I played the first one again. I had zero intention to play the second one, but then I finished it. And as I was playing through the first one, thinking about stuff that happened in the second game, I was like, oh, I can kind of see how this ended up happening, or that, and like I can see like the seeds that were planted leading into that. So then I did go and play the second game again. But what really hit me super, super hard was the giraffe scene.
Yeah.
And how it is the last pure moment
That Ellie gets, I'm assuming.
that Ellie and Joel ever get.
And you can sit
And
there as
honestly,
long
it's
as you
probably the
want.
last pure moment in both games.
the entire series.
To be straight. It is the last pure moment, and I legitimately sat there and where you're like it's like overlooking
Yeah.
and they're like leaning forward. I cried like a baby
Oh.
because of how much I genuinely do love the characters, and having that realization like this is the last pure moment. Because and you see it at the end of the first game.
I felt like I
'Cause-
soaked that up. I sat there for a couple minutes.
Yeah,
just
but then
looking
he
at it.
lies to her.
Yeah, it's tough.
And then after playing the second game on the replay, I sat there for like 10 minutes and was just like, I wish I could just stay right here and their story ended right here. And I think that says a lot, though, about just how good the story writing is and the characters themselves are, and how actually well, like, human that they feel, like real people instead of just a character serving a purpose for the plot. I think the plot really serves the characters and the progression that they make.
Yeah.
And I wanted it to end right there so bad. But alas,
There's more.
it's not the case.
Well, I will. It's definitely on my list. I'm in the middle of the DLC. Is it a long DLC? That attached to the first game.
The DLC.
I've only ever played it once.
Okay.
I don't think.
If
It's
I'm
that
being
long.
entirely honest.
I didn't feel like it was that long at all. I feel like I'm most of the way through it. So I will probably finish that probably tonight.
Just tank through the
Dude.
fighting stuff. Don't try to be
I-
stealthy. Just madman it.
Goodness, I am looking forward to seeing your reaction like 10 hours into the next game.
Not
Yeah.
even. It's like an hour and a half into the next
Is
game.
it?
It's within the first 2 hours.
Yeah. Woo! Anyways. Yeah. Anybody else have any closing thoughts, or are we wanting to switch topics, or are we good?
I guess there's one thing, and it's not you know what, it's not that big of a deal. Never mind. It's a gameplay thing I didn't like about it, but we don't need to get into it that much. I just felt like I was looting the whole time and being smart about it, and then the game ended really quick. And I wanted the ending zombie thing was like going in the subway of Salt Lake, and there were like 2 of the bloaters
Which
or
doesn't
whatever.
exist.
Yeah, which doesn't exist. There was like 2 of the bloaters and then like a load of clickers and stuff.
Yeah.
It was like the easiest thing in the world, and like I felt like I had been saving up the flamethrower and I like hardly used it yet.
Well,
I
that's on you for
I
not
know,
using it.
and then I used it and I was like, oh, that's it.
Yeah, that's kind of on you.
Honestly,
though.
that's what I'm saying, is it is kind of on me. I was expecting
Okay.
there to be a clear like big ending where
I
I
will
would
say-
blow through all my ammo.
You
and then
do.
it's like-
it's with an M16 and you shoot
Exactly.
a bunch of fireflies.
Exactly. They give you an M16 and you can load up on everybody you kill, and you never use any of the other guns you've upgraded in that entire sequence
Are you
because
kidding me?
they're not worth it compared
you
to the M16.
kidding me? The revolver.
Well, the revolver's baller. I did use
You
that.
can like one shot everybody
Yeah.
once you upgrade that thing.
well, there's-
Every single time, the revolver, man.
yes. I'm just
At
saying
least you're not like me and got literally 75% of the way into the game and then found out that the pills you were picking up was used for actual upgrades to
Yeah.
the character.
Yeah.
I legitimately played so much of that game with the standard health and the stupid weapon sway that drove me crazy, which is a testament to how good the writing is because I hated it. I was like, this has got the worst gameplay I've ever played in any game ever, but I kept going through it, and then I was like, oh my gosh, there's an upgrade system.
Were you really picking up items the whole freaking way through the game and never thought to yourself, man, what are these pills for?
Yeah.
I pick them up, my health doesn't go
I
up.
think
What could they be
actually
for?
I might have looked at it, like, I think when you first pick up pills, there's a prompt
They definitely tell
where
you
it's
to
like, hey,
check
you
it
can do
out.
this, but it's like 5 pills, so you can't do anything with it, and so I just forgot about it. So by the
That's-
time I had enough to buy things, it just like I didn't
That's fair.
Okay.
have enough. So yeah, fun
Anyways.
fact.
So, gameplay,
I am a broken man.
Couple of
after
things,
hearing both of
but-
these.
story-wise, great. Excited to see where it's going, and we'll be back in a few weeks.
I will say when you go to play the second one, really take time to just look at it, because it is
Like a pretty-
the best looking game
Okay.
I've
Actually,
ever played.
I'm really interested to see what you think about it because there was so much controversy around it. I think a lot of people went into it thinking, just choosing to hate it, basically.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
no, 110%. I know that
Yeah.
much about it.
So yeah, I
I know there's lots of people that hate it, and I hate those people because I want to experience the game. I'm gonna play it. I'm
Here's-
gonna decide
here's
if I
the
like
thing.
it.
I seriously want your unbiased opinion
Exactly.
about it, because
That's what matters.
And this is something that Scott and I have talked about before. Is with The Last of Us specifically, like because of where everybody wanted it to go, it ruined where it did go, and so that's something I am keeping in mind as I'm gonna play it. Is I kind of know where I would like the game generally to go, but I'm
it's not gonna go
but
there.
not gonna
exactly.
go there, right?
But I'm throwing it aside because I'm just gonna experience the game for what
I
it
will
is.
say it did not go where I wanted it to go, but I also love it, and I think it is a masterpiece of a game.
and I've never played it, so my opinion is invalid, or at least should be taken with a grain of salt. But I think, having paid attention to all the chatter around it, does not deserve the amount of hate it gets, and a lot of the hate that it gets is pretty bad intentioned, I guess.
It comes-
Closed-minded.
Closed-minded is what I would say. I think it really does come from people not being happy about where it went because it's not what they wanted it to be.
Anyways, so yeah, we'll get back to this on a month. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I have so many thoughts about The Last of Us
Text
Part
me your
2.
live reactions.
Yeah.
That's all I
I
want.
didn't do it much for the other one because I always played it really late.
Well, and then you just get sucked into it.
Yeah,
so-
that was the other thing. There were times I was playing it and I was like, oh gosh, I haven't texted them about what I've been doing for like 2 missions. Like Joel Dunn got stabbed and I didn't get to tell him because it was like 3 a.m.
Goodness.
You can text me. I won't see it till the morning.
Oh, I know.
All right. Well, thanks for listening to this. If you bore with us and our ramblings and insanities,
And Tanner's
That's really all this
mind-breaking
is.
faces.
yeah. Oh man, Tanner's faces.
Yeah, we need a camera. That's all.
I might have a way for that to work.
Yeah.
Sweet.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah, this was fun. So just let us know if you enjoyed this format, or if we should maybe be more structured or less structured, or if we should have more topics or less topics.
Talk more, talk less.
Talk more, talk less. Talk shorter, talk longer.
Use bigger words.
Use smarter words.
Onomatopoeia.
Dumb it down.
Scott, what is an onomatopoeia?
It's a sound. It's like a word describing a sound.
Yeah, there
Yeah,
you
it's just
go.
the
I just
Batman
wanted to
sound
know.
effect.
Yeah,
That's
it's comic
Yeah.
books, the bang, whap,
Yeah,
pow,
I just-
swing. Yeah,
I
that's
just-
an onomatopoeia.
I just
Swing.
I just thought it would have been funny if you were like, we got to use bigger words like onomatopoeia.
I'm
and
not
then
dumb
didn't know
enough
what
to say a word I don't know.
all right.
I don't know
bye.
what words I don't know.